Most people have great goals. I want to increase my income and lose weight and get out of debt and be thin and happy and healthy and have a wonderful family. But then they decide, but before I start, I'm going to take a vacation to a beautiful place called Someday Isle. And in my estimation, 80% of the population lives on Someday Isle. Someday I'll lose some weight, and someday I'll read that book and listen to that program and join the Yes Network, and someday I'll get out of debt, someday I'll increase my income, but it's always Someday Isle. If you want to be a great success, there's one simple rule, is vote yourself off the island for life. If you decide you're going to do something, do it. You know, they've done dozens and dozens of studies over the years. They find that there's one major difference between successful people and unsuccessful people. Successful people launch. They start. They get on with it. They just do it. Unsuccessful people get the same ideas and the same information, but they've always got an excuse for not starting. When I was a young man, I had a revelation that changed my life. I had read articles and sometimes books on time management over the years and made some lists and set some priorities and things like that. And I always felt, however, that my life was the sun, and that all the different factors of my life were like planets that orbited around my life. And whether that was physical fitness or socializing or work or time management, they were all planets in orbit. What changed my life was when I realized that time management is the sun and everything that I do is the planets in orbit. Everything we do in life revolves around time because time is life. Time is the substance of our life. Is that the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your time management. That everything we have or are or ever will be a direct result of how we use our time. And the wonderful thing is we're always free to choose how we use our time. Here's an important point. Nothing works the first time. When you try something new, it probably won't work. When you try something new several times, it probably won't work. And the turning point in my life came when I would hear good ideas, and I was so eager to be successful in selling. I would run out and try the ideas, and they wouldn't work. I'd try a way of getting an appointment or answering an objection or closing a sale. It wouldn't work. And my natural response, and I think just to be disappointed. And then I realized nothing works, at least the first few times. So I decided I would try a new idea 5 or 10 times before I passed judgment on it. I would not just try it once and quit like most people do, and that changed my whole life. It was a turning point in my life because I realized from then on, if you've got a good idea and you've got a good goal and you want to double your income and improve the quality of your life and you have to try new things in order to get new results, it's not going to work the first time. So you say, well, that didn't work. Try something else and try something else and try something else. Now, if you try, only 2 things can happen. What are they? Succeed or fail. If you succeed, you do more of it. If you fail, you learn from it, get smarter, and try it again. So you cannot lose by taking action. You can only lose by not taking action. I think that the ability to focus and concentration are the 2 keys to success in life. That the ability to focus clearly and know exactly what it is you want to accomplish, and the ability to concentrate single-mindedly on accomplishing that one thing without diversion or distraction are the keys to success. It's the number 1 key to effectiveness, is to be able to sit down and look at your work and use the 80-20 rule. Say to yourself, which is the 20% of the number of things that I have to do that account for 80% of the value of my work? And always work on the top 20%. You see, in life, there's never enough time to do everything, but there's always enough time to do the important things. Instead of doing what is fun and easy, which is what most people do, you know what they do? They make a list of everything they have to do, and then they start at the bottom of the list and they work on the irrelevant things. At the end of the day, they haven't got anything done. Successful people, peak performers, concentrate on the top items. And remember, anything other than working on the top items on your list is a waste of your time. And time management is not just time management is life management. You can do anything you want with your life if you will manage your time properly. We all have the same 24 hours a day, and the ability to concentrate, to discipline yourself, to use willpower and perseverance to concentrate on one thing at a time is a quality of all success. Nothing great has ever been accomplished without the ability to concentrate single-mindedly on one thing at a time. Always concentrate on the best use of your time. Here is my favorite time management question. It's simply this. Before you start anything, ask yourself, what is the most valuable use of my time right now? Make a list and say, what is the most valuable use of my time right now? When you get into your car, say, what is the most valuable use of my time right now? When you leave the house or leave the office, say, what is the most valuable use of my time right now? Ask yourself that question over and over and over again. Repeat it and repeat it and repeat it until it's driven into the subconscious mind as a command. And whenever you have a temptation to do something that is small and irrelevant, that command will go, blam, what is the most valuable use of your time right now? And you, whoo, and it'll push you into doing what is the most valuable use of your time. And whenever you're working on the most valuable use of your time, you feel great. You get concentrated effort is a source of energy and enthusiasm. It makes you feel wonderful when you're working on something important, and it makes you feel nothing when you're working on something irrelevant.
When I was in my 20s, I sat down with another mentor of mine, and he asked me what my plan for personal growth was, and I shared with him that I had none. And he looked at me and he said, John, personal growth doesn't happen accidentally. If you're going to grow and if you're going to develop yourself, you're going to have to be intentional. And that was a great turnaround in my life. That advice has stayed with me, because the only guarantee that your future is going to be better than today is that you are personally growing right now. That's how you expand your growth potential. And I know that you receive a diploma and you say, I've graduated. And sometimes the mistake that we make is we think, wow, thank God, I'm going to take a break from learning for a long time. But I just want you to know, you're never out of school. You're never out of school. Trust me, every day as you learn, listen, grow, ask questions, what happens is you begin to expand your growth potential. I referred to my father a moment ago. My father literally worked full-time up through his 95th year. He sat across the table a couple of years ago from me after we were having lunch at the age of 96, and he said to me, son, look at me. He said, I've been praying about this. I've been thinking about it. Now get the picture, he's 96. He said, I think my greatest days are still ahead of me. And if you will be intentional in your personal growth and in your development, if you'll really commit yourself to learning, growing, having a teachable spirit, having a humility about you that allows you to ask questions and listen for advice, I promise you, it will serve you well. When I was in my late 20s, I had a staff member give me a Christmas gift, and it was a book, and when I opened it, the front cover said, The Greatest Story Ever Told, and I love to read, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I'm about to read a book that's the greatest story ever told, and I very quickly opened up the book to see what it was all about. Go to the table of contents, and much to my surprise, when I opened the book, all the pages were blank. And I looked at her and I said, Eileen, I don't understand. The outside cover says, the greatest story ever told, and yet the pages are blank. And she smiled and she said, I know. She said, go to the front cover. And I went to the front of that book, and she had written me a note and said, John, your life is before you. You fill these pages with your hopes, with your passion, with your dreams. You write the greatest story ever told. And I took that book home, and the next day on the first page, this was before I ever wrote any book, I put at the top of the first page, I want to make a difference. I didn't know how I was going to make a difference. I didn't know when I was going to make a difference, but I knew I wanted to make a difference. And at the age of 74, I'm still writing my story.
Biggest mistake, people think they're supposed to walk out and be good at it. And if they're not, because, they don't want any part of it. I don't know, not look good, not be good, because we live in this social media world where they compare themselves to people that are bullshit. I got a friend that owns a gym, and we laugh about this all the time. He says, Tony, at least 2 or 3 times. First time he told me this, I couldn't believe it. But I saw it happen one time. I went to go pick him up. We were going to lunch, and he goes, look at this. And these people would come out, a woman or a man, they both do it, and lay out all this stuff, take a million pictures of themselves, and then leave. They didn't do any workout whatsoever. That's the bullshit social media, when filters on pictures. And so people compare themselves to not other humans, they compare to people others' bullshit story. And that's why so many people get depressed when I'm sure you've seen the studies show the more time people spend on social media, usually the greater levels of frustration and anger and certainly depression for a lot of people have. Because you're comparing a world that doesn't matter, plus you're being reinforced by these algorithms in ways that go beyond your conscious awareness. Well, what happens to a muscle if you don't use it? We say you lose it, you don't actually lose it, but it gets weaker and weaker, as you well know, right? And what happens the minute you start making demands on it, especially if you haven't made demands in a while, it doesn't take much to see real muscle growth, right? And so it's like if you constantly live in fear, your world gets smaller and smaller, and it tends to get more fearful. Like, who's more fearful? Someone who's broken 10 bones in their body and healed them as a kid, or someone who never broke a bone? You know the answer is. The kids that are overprotected are fearful all the time. But if you've gone out in the street and, you gotten in a fight and, you busted your arm or your hand or finger, or you played football or whatever the hell it is, or boxed or something, now it's like, I'm not afraid of that crap, because you've lived it. And there's no substitute. I always tell people a belief is a poor substitute for an experience. you think you know what China is, but I take you to China, you have a little different experience. And so almost everything I do is give someone an experience. That's the reason, I did the fire walk, I still do, but did for so many years. Before that, I used to do skydiving, but it's hard to get 15,000 people above the sky in New York in the middle of the night. So I had to come up with other tools, but the fire walk was, again, giving you an experience of something that seemed difficult or impossible, and then you get yourself to do it, and your brain goes, wait a second, if I can do that, what else can I get myself to do? That psychological shift is the most important shift that people can make. It's a shift in your identity.